What's up, Porsche fanatics? Will here with Rennthusiast, and I'd like to welcome you to a Porsche 911 owner interview. I've been doing these for quite a while now, and quite frankly, they are my favorite types of videos to do. I love hearing owners tell me about their experience with these cars, what drew them to the car. I love hearing the backstory on how they bought it and what they like most about it. And so this one's no different. A guy by the name of John reached out to me on Instagram and asked to be featured on the channel. So after we chatted, I decided it would be a great fit. So an interesting thing that John shares in this video is that he has been at a tough decision point with his 911. He's been giving thought to maybe selling it and moving on, but he's also really torn because he's connected to the car. So I'll let John share with you what he's thinking he's gonna do next. Before we dive into the interview, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to the channel. This is the kind of thing I do, interview 911 owners about their car. I also cover my personal 911 ownership experience, and I also cover Porsche culture. So if that's your thing, please subscribe and hit that bell so you're notified when I publish new content. Let's get into it. All right, so here we have John. John reached out to me via Instagram. He's relatively local to me, and he is giving us the unique opportunity to tell us about his, what year is this?
It's 1977 911S.
All right, so tell me about it, man.
Well, first of all, shout out to the channel, Will. Thanks so much for bringing so much air-cooled content. We're all dying for it. So
thank you, man.
I couldn't start without that.
It's my pleasure.
But the car is a little bit of a culmination of a childhood dream, right? All of the car kids, we all want this car. This is the quintessential 911. But you know, that's not how we started. I had a 914 for a while when I was in high school, a little 2-liter car, which I don't think anybody even knew what it was. Later in life, I acquired a Boxster, and the Boxster got me on the racetrack. And that's kind of when things went a little bit nutty. So right after that, I went to a 944 Turbo that was a full-on track car, but all the while wanting to get back to the 911. After a lifetime really of thinking that this is the car that I want to find, as you remember, in 2017, things are going a little bit nutty in the air-cooled Porsche market, and I started to sense that pretty soon I'm going to be priced out of the market. I'm never going to be able to buy one. So I'm actually on a family trip out west with my wife, and I'm trying to convince her that, you know, in the way we do, right? I'm taking a long time to explain.
So you're using the really well-known slow roll process to get her to basically tell you to buy it.
Yes, and so finally, we're at the whole family in a big truckster out west, and I'm like, I finally just come clean and like, I think I need to buy one of these things. And she goes, oh, for God's sake, would you just do it? So we get back to town, and immediately I hit up my old friend Daryl, and we start looking for the car, right? I'm really looking nationwide, and what I wanted was, I'm a driver. I wanted a driver. I wanted a car that was mechanically fresh. You know, the scariest stuff about these cars are engine and transaxle, right? When those things have to be fixed, that's really expensive. And frankly, that's exactly what I found. And the deal is, years ago, Daryl bought his car first. So Daryl was first out with the 911. I'd had the 914, and before I bought my Boxster, Daryl bought his 911. And we flew out to Cincinnati, Ohio, and drove that car back. And that was such a great adventure. You're going to hear a little bit more about that from Daryl, I'm sure. But we kind of made a deal. The deal was, when I finally get my 911, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take a trip. We're going to go buy the car, and we're going to drive it home. I never really imagined that the car that I would buy would be a 40-year-old 911 that I'd never seen before. And I also never thought that it would be in Omaha, Nebraska. So I called Daryl, and I'm like, hey man, I think this is the car. You know, we've been looking at it. I've talked to the guy. I had a pre-purchase inspection, but it's in Omaha, Nebraska, man. I mean, this car is, you know, days drive away. I've never seen the car. I have no idea, you know, other than what the PPI says. I'm thinking the smart thing to do would be, we'll fly out there. We're going to check it out. If it checks out, we'll ship it home and we'll fly back. And Daryl's like, yeah, you know, I mean, that sounds like what some old dude would do, you know, given that, you know, at your advanced age. And I think there were some other disparaging comments in there about my willingness to take on this trip. So you know how that goes. I mean, the gauntlet thrown, and I'm like, well, done. It's done, dude.
So now he's challenged you to the fly-by and drive.
The challenge is on.
Fly-by and ship.
No. The fly-by and drive. The challenge is on. So I biased 2 one-way tickets to Omaha, Nebraska. We fly out, we look at the car. It's a Friday afternoon. We're in Omaha, which, you know, it's a great city, but, you know, never been there. And we do a little walk around, we take it for a drive. Everything looks great. We exchange money and we hit the road. The funny thing about that particular weekend, this was in September, I think, of 2017, there was a massive hurricane coming towards South Carolina, and we decided, you know, we were gonna kind of take our time, maybe hit the tail of the dragon on the way home, but we both have families and houses, and we're like, we gotta get home. So we decided we're just gonna go hammer down. So we take off, and it took us about an hour or two into the trip, we find out what might be the first mechanical issue with the car. Because we stop to get gas, take a leak, grab a snack, go to start the car, and it doesn't want to start. Long story short, it turns out to be a fuel accumulator, which we didn't know at the time. All we knew was hot start was a problem. So we're like, no problem. Don't turn it off.
Yeah, that's right, just let it run.
Don't turn it off, just let it roll.
Keep going.
So just keep going. So we took off, we drove into the night. I think we stopped in St. Louis maybe, you know, all along stopping for gas, never turning off the car. We let it sit overnight and, you know, fired right up first thing in the morning. So then it's another run all the way back to Columbia, South Carolina, and I don't know, barely over 24 hours in a 40-year-old car that we'd never seen before, and it ran great. So that kind of began the ownership with this car, and really what it's been, it's a bit of a discovery. You take a 40-year-old car and you find that there's a whole bunch of things that you love about it, and there's a whole bunch of things that are wrong with it, and there's a whole bunch of things that you want to fix. Really, since then, the mission has been take the car period correct, but better. So I put the suspension back kind of just almost stock, just so I could drive it. So that's sort of next level. I'm getting ready to start breaking into those kind of things.
Yeah, so what's next for the car? I mean, I can tell you're a driver, so I'd love to hear what you're thinking about.
Yeah, it's all about the experience right now. And frankly, I know you had this moment recently where you were trying to decide, do you move on, do you move the car along? And I've been harassing Daryl about this for months and maybe a year, where I'm trying to decide, do I want to move this one on and go to something else? But I finally made the decision, no, this is the car that I need to keep, and that was the plan anyway, right? So now it's time to, we did the upgrade last year to the Carrera oil-fed tensioners, which is kind of an important upgrade for these cars. So now it's time to make it essentially just more fun. It needs to sound better. It needs to handle better, and the interior needs a good freshening. It needs to look a little bit more like my car. So that's really the next bits, is to start those things. Mechanically, the car's fantastic. Early in its life, it got a 3-liter swap. For those of you guys that know these cars well, know that the 2.7s were pretty famous for detonating, and that happened in the first year of this car's life, apparently. Supposedly, I'm the 4th owner of it, and that first owner had a pretty bad run, swapped in an early SC motor, a 3-liter motor, which got freshened right before I bought the car.
So have you like paint corrected this car? I mean, it's got a lot of shine to it, man.
You know, it really does. This is one of those cars that probably looks a whole lot better than it really is underneath, but it's I haven't done any paint correction. I do take pretty good care of it. It lives in a garage, but you know, if you walk around, you'll see a bubble here and there, and you'll see a little ding and a dent, and I'll be honest with you, Will, that's fine by me.
I was going to say, isn't that freeing?
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to worry
Absolutely.
as much about it.
Absolutely, because I'll hop in this car in any condition and any weather, and just, you know, drive it as hard as it'll let me. And so that's really the story of how we got this car, and now it's time to move it along to the next level.
So let's talk about that. I mean, I overheard you talking with Dave here at this shop about what your vision is, but I mean, what are you thinking?
Yeah, well, here's a couple of things.
You mentioned exhaust, right?
Yeah. So it doesn't sound very exciting. It's pretty stock. The interior is pretty tired. This would be the original interior of the car. That's some tired carpet that you can take out, and it's, you know, major chunks. So that's one thing that we need to do. And here's something that I'm gonna pull a Will for you guys right now. Tell us in the comments. Should I take this wing off?
Yes, there's a lot of feelings about that. I'm a non-wing guy, personally.
I don't know. You know, when I bought the car, here's a couple of things, and you guys will be telling me this in the comments, I'm sure. When I bought the car, they had tried to make it into a Carrera 3.0 clone. So it had like the Carrera script on the bottom, he put the wing on, and the only reason I haven't taken this off, we're gonna get some hate on this, because there actually is a European, you know, Carrera 3.0. This car is not a Carrera, number one, it's an S, but it is a 3.0. But the only reason I won't take it off is because it's going to leave 4 holes in the in the deck lid.
But I mean, like, so you could swap it out for a ducktail.
I could do that, right? That's an option. Or I could just
totally personal taste this.
That's right. So I'd love to hear what you guys think. But
so should he keep it or should he delete it? Does he go ducktail? Tell us, guys.
Love to hear it. And then on the interior, really what I want to do is we need to freshen up that carpet. We need to replace the super sketchy 1987 CD player, whoever put that thing in there.
I think it's sweet, I saw it.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. I'll sell it to you. I'm gonna take those rear seats out. Nobody's ever sitting back there. Get some nice carpet, and I'm definitely interested in talking to Dave about maybe doing a nice subtle insert into these seats, just something to make it a little more personal to me. You know, as I said, this car is a driver. There's nothing super special about this car. There's plenty of, you know, 77 911 S's out there, but this is the only one that's mine. And so I want to continue to make it that way.
You know, and I love that. So, you know, the 24-hour race home, you got that tied into this car here. That's a memory with this car.
You know, that's a memory. You know, Daryl and I have been friends for 40 years, and that's a memory that we have together, just one of a couple, right? I mean, a couple hundred, and a bunch of them are car-based. So that's been our life together as friends. So this car is a big part of that, you know. So yeah, I'm just going to continue to kind of tweak on it. It definitely needs to look a little bit more like mine. It needs to sound a lot better. Performance-wise, these cars they're not rockets. I mean, it could be. I could spend a ton of money and do that, but for me, this car, these classic 911s, these 70s cars, it's a whole different experience driving this car. You know, if I wanted to go be fast on the racetrack, there's plenty of cars that can do better than that, better than it sits stock. But I think for this car, this is about road tripping. This is about mountain driving. This is about an experience of driving a classic car.
Well, John, I appreciate you reaching out, man, and sharing your story on this car. It's very cool that you did that. And yeah, guys, don't forget in the comments, he's looking for advice, so weigh in.
Thanks, Will.
Thank you. So as you can see, John has a lot of passion for the car. And you may have picked up on this. There was a guy in the background of that video. That is John's lifelong friend, Daryl, who I also interviewed that same day. Daryl has a killer Guards Red Porsche 964. Definitely very fun to listen to him tell me about it. He bought that car before it was cool. So I'll be publishing that interview next. If you want to make sure you don't miss it, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, would love to hear from you if you're interested in being featured on the channel. I can be reached at Rennthusiast TV on Instagram. You can hit me up at Gmail at therennthusiast@gmail.com. And finally, I have a contact form on my website, rennthusiast.com. So the only caveat I'll give you about being featured on the channel is you need to be in my area. I am located in the state of North Carolina in the US of A. So if that's something you're interested in, hit me up. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you next time. I'm out of here.